Hello, welcome. Good to see you. It was so cool the other day to reveal my plan, or at least a portion of it. In actuality, deciding where you incorporate your business is probably one of the very smallest part of your plans, but then there is so much detail in any choice that we're going to make that there's a lot to unpack there. And it's good to share, and kind of in the spirit of what I was saying at the end of the video, that if you ask for help, you get a lot of great feedback from people. I absolutely did after that conversation. So this is sort of a retroactive, what was the good feedback? What were some of the things that you immediately learn? And being patient with your own mistakes. I think that it is amazing how would I describe it? How intolerant we are of the mistakes of each other in certain contexts. I won't say specifically, but we seem to not like it. But that's okay. I mean, something that is fundamental and will hold true through my entire life, regardless of my successes or failures, is that mistakes are fine. Asking questions is fine. The greater error is when you are too afraid to bring something up and then catastrophe occurs when it could have been avoided with a simple question. Anyways, I digress. So what are the specific pieces of feedback that I got which were very good? So one of which immediately, I had a gentleman in my DMs, and he was saying, like, I am aware of corporate tax structure in Canada. I work for one of the banks. I was like, oh, this is awesome. And he told me that if you wouldn't want to do a sole proprietor because then it would be taxed according to your personal income. So he said what you can do is you would get a federal incorporation, and then they'll have a 15% tax. I was like, okay, so there you go. I'm already learning about the taxation of corporate structures in Canada, which I should, because that's also a part of, this video. I'm trying to think what the title exactly should say. Maybe I made a business, because I did, if it gets approved. I'll make another video to say that. Whether I made a business and it was approved or not is another question. But that's a part of today. So that was cool to learn. I was like, all right, 15%, arguably better than Singapore at 17%. But of course, the devil's in the details, so I'd want to look more into that. But I just appreciate understanding that Canadians have a 15% corporate tax. Okay, here's another one. So I was spreading lies, unintentionally, but it's in the fact that I was talking about, what is this? Capital gains. I was talking about capital gains in Canada and how if you've held something for a short period of time, that's different than if you've held on to something and then you sell it after a long time. False. My dad was the person who responded to that and said, just by the way, Dave, there is no delineation in Canada for that. If you get a capital gain in Canada, they are going to charge you at 50% of the capital gain. Where I was like, who would ever take an investment out in Canada if that were the case? Now, I know that we have some things in Canada which I've not used, I've been away for so long, but for example, a tax-free savings account. And so assets that appreciate in that account, if you get some capital gains there, you won't be charged on any money that you would store it away there, which is cool. That's a good thing. That's a point for Canada. You couldn't complain about that. But it was important to understand that if it's not in an account like that, that you are going to receive a 50% tax, which is a big deal. So that was another piece of good feedback, and I appreciate that. And maybe I'm more advocating for, you should just always ask people, get a little bit of advice. Sometimes they get noisy. You need to know as well where I think there's a big difference between asking for real, immediately useful information and also screaming into the void just to hear an echo back. Like, we ask a lot of questions that don't need an answer. If we examine them, we'd realize I could get this answer by just doing this thing, but I am at least hesitant in some situations because you got this built up anxiety around doing that particular task or whatever. So you ask somebody, but deep down you know that you could just go ahead and do it. So that's important. Being able to make this distinction, yes, ask a bunch of people, but also know when you should just forge ahead. Today was cool. The other, I guess the tag I'd put onto this as well and is a big victory. I mean, it's going to turn around in a couple hours here, 48 or whatever, but I have done the application process to incorporate the business in Canada. So that was done today, paid the little fees. It's probably impressive, honestly, if we compared this to something like 20 or 30 years ago, how quickly, and you can do it abroad, which is very good. Although I did discover that on your board of directors, you need to have somebody who lives in Canada 25% of the year, I believe it said. So I was like, oh, okay, well, I'm business partners with my brother. Now my brother is business partners with me. So he is also on the board of directors, which is kind of cool. So that's done. That was a fairly streamlined process. If I could criticize something about it, this was a head scratcher, and also creating needless problems potentially. When I was going through the application, I'm going at a good clip, filling in everything, all the forms they need. I got 3/4 of the way through. At this point, I've also paid for registering the name that I want it to be, and then I hit next, and it timed out and dumped me out of the application. So now I'm sitting there wondering, now that I'm going to submit that same name, is there going to be an issue? But I found there were some notes that you could say, hey, I've registered a name already, but I made the point. You'll see in the application, this is 2 minutes after that I've gone and done this. And so don't confuse that other application with somebody else. Just compare the names, and that's me. So please allow me to have that business name. And it was fun, it definitely felt fun. You definitely get a bit of, so who knows how far along I will progress and then have to admit a change in course. But so long as you're pursuing the business and you exist in the realm of whatever is potential in the moment, if you don't get lost in the future, while at the same time being able to plan for it, it's so much fun because you feel like you can be a part of something incredible, right? Every great beginning, they never knew until after the fact, and you always wanted to, I think, maybe enjoy a little bit more if you did then convert into great success the time prior to that. Where it always feels stupid in just day-to-day life if you're really, really upset and then you receive great information that totally counterbalances that, and you think to yourself, wouldn't it have been better if I had just been more patient and in a good mood, and then I could have received so graciously this thing? So focusing on that as well, just like, this is sweet, every moment is sweet, getting up, everything is the business, every failure, every challenge, and it's so much fun. The other thing that we'll do now, which is great, I mean, it's obviously very important, once this gets registered, and it should, I would say that we can start on the point of sale, because those guys need all of this corporate info to be able to install the point of sale on your website. So that's a lot of fun too. Yeah, so start a business, and within, as I say, it would never exceed 2 months. And this is me giving an ultra generous estimate, but to think in 2 months, 2 months time, that the great dream could be live and users could be on the site is really, really exciting. A new beginning. Every moment is the seed of something that it will become. Can I give you any other cool insights on things happening recently? No, those are the big ones, and I'm making videos frequently enough now that, yeah, I shouldn't talk too much, otherwise my life is only so interesting, and at that, not very. So I'll have to take a break. Okay, thanks for dropping in. I thought it was exciting for me today. That's why I'm making this video, because how many times are you going to make a business in your life? Maybe some people many times, but for me, not many. So this is my once-in-a-lifetime experience. I'm loving it. It feels so exciting now to have something that you're building that you question whether it'll be good, and more just how good will it be. So that's good. And yeah, on to the next chapter. I'll catch you in the next. Don't do anything they tell you to do at the end of YouTube videos.